Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of I, Dungeon Master. This is a series I mentioned in the first episode. Each episode is broken down into 3 sections. First part, I talk about either past, present, or future projects that I'm working on. Second section, I talk about my 2+ year campaign and just kind of a little bit of what's been going on. And the third section, I just talk about general dungeon mastering, so things like that. Let me go ahead and get started. I'm currently working on I did a module that published in last November, which is RHEALM, and this is an adventure module. My newest current project is HAIKON, HAIKON, and this art behind me is I purchased the rights to use it on the cover. Same artist that I bought the rights for the art on my first cover, because I really love his stuff. It was hard to shift from RHEALM to HAIKON, after I worked on RHEALM a long time, and I actually worked on it for like 6 months, then had a huge period where I was off Twitter for a while and wasn't working on it, and then got back on and finished it up. HAIKON, I had a concept in last August about HAIKON a few months before I had published RHEALM, and but I didn't have that same inspiration to RHEALM. RHEALM was a particular stream that I was watching inspired me to do a wintry module. With HAIKON, it was just a concept that I came up with, and it wasn't until I had a dream about a dark character that I then decided to add that character into. I don't know if dark character is the right term, but it was a pretty cool character, and I had a dream about him, and that's when I decided to add that character into HAIKON on top of the concept that I already had, and that's when I first started to feel more inspired. And the more time has gone by, I've slowly shifted. The thing about it is that they talk about 5% inspiration, 95% perspiration, or something like that. Basically, you create these concepts, but there's so much work after that. Just the data entry portion of it alone, because I put a lot of NPCs in there. There's some of them are standard, some of them are altered, some of them are just custom NPCs, custom creatures, and in fact, I think that there's some of the creatures from RHEALM will be in this one, not the icy ones, but first of all, it's going to be a kind of campaign setting, one particular continent or plane, and it's but it's also going to have adventures within it, so it's kind of a campaign setting / adventure module. So I would imagine it'll be longer than RHEALM, just thinking about the work that goes into each adventure. I will say I wanted to create a place that was very dangerous for the players, like less likely to survive this setting than maybe another setting. On a negative, maybe people are like, hey, I don't want to make characters and die. On the other side, I think that the people would enjoy that extra danger, and I hope that I can achieve that. With HAIKON, I have been doing some game testing. With RHEALM, I did bring it into my 2-year campaign, probably a 1.5 years ago. It was an earlier version, and it went really well. With HAIKON, I think I'm going to do game testing while I'm developing it. It already has been helpful. With the COV thing and everything, I'm currently staying with my mom. Me and my girlfriend are, and my mom's boyfriend, and I've actually played a little D&D with my mom, but I decided to do game testing with her. She created a character, and I've entered her into the early part of the HAIKON setting, and right away I'm like seeing things left and right that I need to flesh out. So I'm glad that I'm doing it, and I've been we play maybe once a week for only like 45 minutes. We did the really small sessions, but so that's been really good. But as far as like an update, I have a long way to go. I just started slowly data entering into NPC creatures, and I'm like creating stuff. It's for me to do all the grind part of it. It's slow, so I'm not going to pump out. People really pump out modules online And I'm not going to be one of those people, because I can come up with ideas, but actually, building the content it's I was hoping every 6 months, but it's looking like it's probably maybe at this point, maybe once a year that I get a module out. So if any luck and lots of work, I will get HAIKON out in the next 5 to 6 months, I hope. Moving on to the second part of this vlog, talking about my campaign that I've been running for 2+ years. I run it for my girlfriend. She's a level 23 warlock. On the first episode, I talked a little bit about some of that. But as far as like in the last week, well, her and her group, and I run NPCs that are in her group, originally like started in a small town. Not the characters weren't born there, but the adventuring group kind of came together in this one and did a lot of things had this be kind of their hub. It was this really thriving barbarian town on one of my continents. And they were so happy with my player and her group being heroes, helping out, and that they built them a keep. So it's a small, not a really big keep. And my player's character likes to kind of, hey, come on, why don't you come hang out with us? She tends to ask people to hang around, stick around, be friends, adventure. So she's got 9 group members that I run, and she has several, like another 10 allies and now she doesn't always do things with all of them. She, usually only in gigantic battles are all of them present, but and of course I have to really beef up the battles for it to be a challenge. But she does a lot of things alone. She does a lot of things with 1 or 2 or 3 characters. At this point, she has a drow assassin who actually tried to kill her love interest. Nearly succeeded, poison daggers to the chest. Anyway, after tormenting him for a while, she ended up flipping it and keeping him around. And over time, he became her bodyguard. A while later, she has a tendency to find the good in characters and creatures and whatnot, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. Didn't really work with Orcus. she tried to find that good in him, but in the end, her group had to slay him, and that was not easy. But she had a lot of people. She was actually killed in the battle by his wand of death, and fortunately, there was an angel present that had been summoned by the cleric, who pulled her out of the fight and took her to the celestial plane, and she was actually resurrected. We actually had her, she has like silver skin, and she's a water genasi, indigo blue hair and silver skin, but we had everything fade. Her hair got lighter, her skin got lighter, and her eyes, which are all black, no pupils, just pure black, went more of a dark gray. This is what happened when the celestial resurrected. It's just something we added, and she's been kind of changed ever since. So they had the keep in this barbarian town for a very long time, but they really outgrew it. They had too many friends, too many allies. They also went to another continent and helped them. There were 3 battling kings, and she helped to bring peace. That was a whole great thing, which really broke her. She did a lot of that alone without any of her allies or anything, and she just took everything she had to get these 3 kings to come together and form an alliance. Now there's peace. Because her and her group defend the material plane, but she's also helped to bring peace on some of the lands. But anyway, the sorcerer, that she's a warlock, sorcerer that was her love interest, but it's not he's kind of a silent partner in the running of the group. He really thought they should get a castle. They had so many friends and allies and large group, and she was like, no. Their group is not treasure hunters. They're very politically involved. So I have them get treasure in other ways. But like, for instance, this castle, they found a castle in this other land, the one that the land they had brought peace to, and it was like I don't know, 200,000 or 300,000 gold. But the kings paid for half of it, and that's like, so maybe they didn't get a bunch of treasure from killing things, but they do have help from the political situations that they have been helpful with. So they got a castle at half cost, and it was a really nice one. I don't know how I drew this one, the design of it, I really like how it came out, because when I design places, they look kind of random. But this castle looked really cool. Lived in that for a very long time. It worked out. And they literally had a point where they literally filled every room, and that was a lot of rooms, but just not, gas and whatever. But time has gone by, and they killed her and her group actually have they actually allies with Grozit. Now, I don't know how Grozit is played in everybody else's campaigns. For me, he's obviously a different kind. If you know anything about him, he's a very different kind of demon lord. But in time, she formed an alliance with him, and Orcus was a problem. And after Orcus was defeated by her and her group, and with the help of Grozit, actually, they were not Grozit and Orcus didn't exactly get along. He awarded Everlost, which is the fortress of Orcus, he awarded it to my characters. Warlock was a real big deal. But she planned on maybe being there, or because she's from the water plane, she's doing something there for the deity that she serves, and she also has the castle, and she has the keep. But she was really drawn. She works a lot. She's been involved a lot with the Abyss. We've had a lot of battles. We've slain Baphomet. We've slain Orcus. And most recently, we slay Yinogu and the Gemigorgon. Now that was with help, and it was hard as hell. And those were demon lords that could not be cool. And as she's level 23, we're really shifting into a whole lot of things right now anyway. But yeah, so we've been spending a lot of time in Everlost, and she didn't plan her whole group going there. In fact, she was kind of telling the group to go get a life. And because she's gone a lot, and she's not always around them. But everything's kind of shifted to Everlost. So they're having to clean that place up, because it's like made of like bones and black stone. It's pretty creepy. But what's happened is defending Everlost has become an issue, because other demon lords are trying to take it from her. So anyway, that's enough of that campaign. I may have even said I kind of extended this. On to the next thing, the next section of this vlog. On this final part of the vlog, and just talking about dungeon mastering in general. Let's talk a little bit about organizing and kind of running a long campaign. As I mentioned, my player's Warlock is level 23. A couple things that I do have a timeline, which is a piece of paper, list number 1 through 30. It's supposed to represent a month. I also keep track of the moon, like once a month. It's a full moon, half moon. It's twice. It's half moon at 2 different points. New moon, which means no moon. That has to do with how dark it is, frankly, during things that happen at night. So I keep a timeline, and that's a place where I kind of keep track of like the things that are coming up, like meetings they have or different things, and I just kind of and then I staple the pages, and then I got a stack of pages from different, so I can actually flip through and see like what we were doing 1, 2, 3, 4 months ago, so that's one way that I, as far as the timeline, keep track of when things happen. Over time, when you visit different places, we were in the Abyss a lot. Their home continent in the material plane, Waterdeep. There's a lot of different things. So I started to use these folders, these color, flip folders. You have maps in there, I have characters in there, I have wandering monsters of a particular area. Over time, it's just too much paperwork. So I get all these folders, and I've got a red one for Aquonia, which is where they have their castle. I have a dark blue folder for the Abyss, and I have demon lords, and also they have their Everlost information, the fortress that they live in, information. So that's another way to really helps me be organized, especially over time, because this is too much paperwork and to dig through everything all the time. So I got those folders. Something I do to kind of keep track of what's going on in the background. I'll make just a list of like 1 through 5 or 6 things that are going on. They aren't necessarily in the forefront, but they're things that are in the background and evolving. like the undead army has just arrived in the desert, but we're not dealing with that yet. But I'll just make a list of like the key points that are in the background, so I'll have that sheet so I don't forget a key thing that's happening that's not in the forefront. So that's another thing that I do. Experience points. Not everybody does experience points. I think a lot of the newer Dungeons and Dragons players do the other. I forget what it's called, but it's really kind of like you hit a certain point in the campaign, everybody levels, and it's just I'm forgetting the name of it, but that's because I don't use it. I do individual experience points. I literally do individual experience points for all the NPCs and for her, for my player's character, and then I keep track of it all. And then at some point I'll have to level. I have to level different NPCs. That's my choice, though. I enjoy that. I like the customization of that. One individual, if this one individual travels with her all the time, he's going to get more XP than the individual that stays at the castle. That's me personally. So I'll usually at the beginning of a session, I will write all the experience points. The other thing we've done is we've journaled. I should say she's journaled. She has journaled for a long time. She's I've mentioned this in my first episode that she is. I started a blog last year telling the story of our campaign from the beginning, and she's a writer. We're both writers, and she. So I'll link again the vlogs, the blog down below, but. So she journals a lot of what's going on, and that helps her when she goes back to write it later. Granted, there's so much, we played so long and we played a lot of hours that she could probably write a lot of books. So journaling is also an awesome way of keeping track of everything that's going on. Well, that's just some little tidbits, but I think this episode is long enough, and I appreciate you checking out. And I will see you. I'm still trying to do these once a week. We'll see how it goes. And I will see you on Twitter.